how strange is it for you guys to be stripping back these songs and playing them within the manner that you're playing them right now?
I don't know if I'd say strange is the word, but it's kind of fun and neat to do, you know, to sort of look at them differently. Not all of them are sort of soft ballads, only a few. You know, we've done, I guess, sort of up-tempo versions with horns and pianos and stuff like that too, so yeah, it's fun.
I want to look at all the other accompaniments because I have a list of all the other players who have appeared on this record that we're going to talk about. Before we talk about not only now, am I going to say this correctly? Is it La Différence?
La Différence,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
That's a line from the song Ocean Pearl.
Right.
Put the V back in La Différence. So we thought there's a good way to, you know, name our record of not only unplugged but different versions, you know, stylings, I guess.
Sure.
The stylings of 5440.
The acoustic stylings.
Yeah, it makes us all sound a little bit that much more elegant, doesn't it? If we say things
Oh,
like
we
La
would-
Différence.
We would hope so.
Well, not like you need it at all, but before we start talking about that, which is actually the workings of a double record, I want to just quickly jump back to 1981.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to take it back just a little while because for people
I'm
that
there.
are in our shoes that have been doing this for a little while, as I told you guys as you walked in the studio today, I mean, you guys are a staple in the playlist here at the Wolf, on top of
Honored. That's great.
a plethora of many other rock radio stations across this fine country. Of course, let's go back to '81 real quick. How did it all begin?
Essentially, I dropped out of Berklee College of Music in Boston because I was probably 18 or, you know, disillusioned with music in general. And then Brad, I went to high school with, who's the bass player, Brad Merritt, and then he called me, wrote me a letter. Back in those days, you actually never said letters and stuff.
Remember
He said,
that?
come home, there's this thing called punk rock and new wave, and we can start a band. We don't really need to know what we're doing. So, you know, one thing led to another. We were a three-piece, and, you know, we got a gig at the Smile and Buddha Cabaret, which was sort of the punk hangout. And other bands came to see us and say, hey, you want to open for us? And that's really how it started. And one thing led to another. And all of a sudden, we're opening for bands down the coast, and other bands are opening for us. And, yeah, it's fun.
Now, pardon my ignorance. Has the lineup evolved at all, or is it still the same core? Of,
Well, Brad and I are still in it. Matt joined the band in 84, 85, I guess 85. And then Dave here, we poached him from the Matthew Good band in 2003, was it?
That's right,
Yeah.
2003.
We'll take it.
13 glorious years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah. You know, it's funny, I do this thing where every time the century, you know, every year since 2000 feels like extra time in a soccer game to me, you know. Still doing this, you know, the ref hasn't blown the whistle
but,
yet.
like, even when you say that with Dave, when you think 13 years is one thing, okay, but like not to make you feel this much old. When you guys were, I was 1 year old when you formed.
1 year old, yeah.
So when
Yeah.
when we talk about that longevity, is there
Yeah.
a secret to it, Neil, that you can think back within the recipe that keeps you still together and doing what you're doing?
Well, I don't mean to sound contrite, but, you know, don't break up.
Yeah.
No, we've, you know, Brad and I initially, we were pretty good pals, you know, and music fans in high school. And we realized that chemistry was an important thing. Like somebody you could be in a van with, stinking it up weeks on end. And if you can do that with somebody, you can kind of do anything.
Yeah, if you can do the prairies without killing each other, then I
Yeah.
think you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call that the Regina syndrome, of course. So you've been working on this double record. The first is La Différence, like we've been talking about. Let's talk about that, and then you can lead us into the second album. Tell me about the idea behind stripping it all back and trying to do it from this perspective, if you don't mind.
Well, with 5440, there's 10, 12, 14 songs or so that we need to go out and play every single night. The fans want to hear the songs they love the most, maybe the songs they hear on the radio the most. And for us, as thrilling as it is to look out in the crowd and see those smiling faces and see people appreciating our best known songs, when you've been playing a song for 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 years, sometimes it can just get a little bit like punching the clock. So sometimes what we do is we'll change something up, change an arrangement. And I had an idea a couple of years ago with a song called Crossing a Canyon. I'd always looked at the lyrics of that song as being quite dark, but the chord progression as being quite bright. And I was always interested in the dichotomy when Neil wrote the song, why it had this dichotomy between the dark lyrics and the light music. And he explained it to me as it's actually a song about a conversation that he had with his father when his father was fighting cancer. And that gave me the idea to maybe try and frame the lyrics with a chord progression that supported the darkness of that lyric, or the longing, or the sadness. So I came up with this idea for a piano ballad for Crossing a Canyon, and we came into rehearsal one day, and I said to Neil, "You're either going to love this or you're going to hate this, but let's try it." And we tried it, and he loved it. And we put it in the set immediately.
And I said, what else you got?
Yeah, and then we thought, maybe we can re-examine some of our other songs and see if we can change the backing track enough to maybe give the lyric a little bit of a different color, a little bit of a different flavor. So
Right.
that's basically what it came to.
So now, was there the meeting, the collecting of minds, so to speak, where you sat down and said, okay, so what are the songs that we're going to do this for? You know, to treat them this way?
Partly, but also we wanted to pick songs that this type of process would work with.
Right. Was there any that anybody brought up and then thought, nah, I can't? I don't
Well, we tried a few. We tried Radio Love Song. We tried Nice to Love You, or popular songs that we do, and we felt they were kind of embarrassing. Those versions. So you won't be hearing those.
Okay.
And then some lent themselves, and I'm not saying that they're slow. Like, for instance, Baby Ran is quite even faster.
Sure.
than
Oh,
American.
nice.
So, we just sort of, and the other thing is about the show that we're bringing on the road is throughout our whatever many albums, 15 or so albums, there are songs that are done with acoustic guitars, believe it or not. Like I Go Blind, for instance, is more or less an acoustic
Sure.
song. Sure, there's a bit of a backbeat. So we're embellishing the show with all the songs that are on the record, which is our 10 biggest hits, is pretty much done acoustically, but with also versions of songs from albums that are pretty much true to form, that were done acoustically.
Well, when we talk about introducing some other elements to this too, I'm looking at the accompaniment here that includes fiddle, octave fiddle, mandolin, trumpet, tuba. I don't even know what a peckhorn is, but I love saying it. I think that's really cool, just to be able to say things like that. But how did you go into the background here and think, okay, so let's get a peckhorn for this song? Or were there key players that you said, let's reach out to these people and see what they can bring to the table as far as that goes?
Okay, well, the background on the making of this record was we rented a studio in White Rock, BC for about 10 days. And the last 3 days of it were a performance. In other words, where they bring about 100 people into the studio and we performed. So we would rehearse and record, for the first 7 days. And in fact, right through to the end of the 10 days we were recording. So we had 3 female singers and then one guy, an amazing guy named Daniel Lapp out of Victoria, who plays all of those instruments you mentioned and more. And he's sort of a legend in the folk community, roots and, what do they call those things, jigs, fiddles, and
Pirate music,
Pirate music.
technical term for it.
And someone playing the
Yeah.
jug with 3 X's on it, right?
So we would just start jamming on the tune, and he would pick up different things, and then we'd say, yeah, we like that, do that. So that's pretty much how it went
So
down.
cool. It is funny you say that because I'm looking at the list. He has all of the rest covered, and then it's back to both vocalists that include, Kelly, Sarah, and Saffron.
Saffron Henderson is Bill Henderson's daughter.
Man, so cool. That is, I love looking at this, especially from the perspective because we're so used to playing these songs and hearing them one way.
Yeah.
Well, we were too.
which keeps everybody on their toes, of
It
course.
sure does.
Let's talk about the second album because within the press that I've been reading, this is kind of the first part of a 2-part project. What is to be expected from the second?
Well, this informed to some degree what the next record is, and vice versa. So we started actually writing the new record, and then we started to get demand for more acoustic shows, and so we thought, if we actually had an album for this, that would work. So it was a tandem thing. We also did some crowdfunding on Indiegogo for a 2-package thing. So we called the project Future History. So you're going to get some interpretation of history and some interpretation of the future. And of course, history came out first. So we'll actually be doing a couple of acoustic versions of our new record that you haven't even heard the electric versions yet.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so we're, I guess, halfway, 3/4 finished the new record. So I'm not sure if it's going to be called Future History or give it another title. I don't know.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
It
okay.
does. Yeah, and a nice. Yeah,
That's an
it's-
important note then.
Well, you
You're,
know,
you're voting with Matt.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mats have it.
All right. Well, you let that guy know he's got great taste.
And a great name.
And you let his parents know he's got a great name as well, of course. The show tonight, it's called, of course, Unplugged Songs and Stories. Some of those stories, what can we expect from, collectively sitting down as an audience, as opposed to just seeing a 5440 show? What kind of stuff can we expect?
Hard to say. I just grab stuff out of the air sometimes, or sometimes I'll give a bit of background like Dave did on Crossing a Canyon, just sort of emphasize why we're here. When we come and do our rock show, like down by the water there or whatever, we come out with a bit of a swagger and we just get to business, which is fun.
Yeah.
But this time people sitting down, we let them maybe a little more inside to who we are, what we're about, in a fun way.
And just kind of let it breathe a little bit more,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how honored we are to have you here, and not only to have you play something in studio for us tonight, but a little bit of insight on the record, and if any of this stuff that we've been talking about today is any insight as to what to expect for future endeavors from you guys. We're really excited. And
Thank you. Yeah, so are we actually.
well, that keeps us that much more excited. If you're not bored, then nor can we.
Yeah.
Right. And thanks again for popping by today, guys, and all the best tonight. What time you think you'll be on stage tonight?
I think it's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock and that's at Showplace, right?
Yeah.
Right. I got the venue right anyway. Thank you very much, members of 5440, joining us in studio today, and we'll get some photos. We'll put them up on Facebook, and to everybody else that's listening, don't miss the show tonight. You're in for a treat. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.